We will be doing one of three things to get our core emotional needs met and topped up. Because remember what I said, they're not negotiable. They've got to be met. We just learn to have them met at lower levels. We will be doing fight with the other person. Fight is not always the fisty thing. Sometimes it's the passive aggressive, which I suggest can be even more potent than the visible fight. The passive aggressive can be so destructive, like dynamite, but insidious, because it's as if you can't really touch it, but you know it's happening. A passive aggressive behaviour, the partner that does the silent treatment around the house because they've been upset by the other person. The tactile touch interaction is removed, and there's minimal of words passed between each of you for hours, for days, for weeks. And it can go on until something finally intervenes. What might intervene? Take a look at Jake and Jasmine and the dance they did on the seesaw for year after year, until frustration and annoyance cause one to run over to the other, but it doesn't work. We will fight, we will flight, we will freeze. Learn about your way of doing fight. Us men, I suggest, I know that women do it as well, but us men, I think we've perfected the art of passive aggressive, where we remove tactileness, touch, embrace, the pat on the wherever we used to pat our wives as an endearment. We stop. We answer questions with one or two words, then we move away. Passive aggressive because you've upset me. It can be really hard to claw your way back from the silent treatment. It's very destructive. Which one of you does more the passive aggressive? Which one of you does the fight? Remember, the physical fight is called domestic violence. There's never ever a level of acceptability of physical. The emotional is never acceptable. It's just more insidious to see. You may need to leave a relationship where your well-being is in danger. That we can look at in a different session. As we continue with this core emotional needs, what's the other one? Flight. Here is my definition of flight. We move ourselves out of the place where we perceive our core emotional needs are not being met, and instead move ourselves into a different place where we perceive our core emotional needs are more likely to be met. Let me give you an example that I've been using for many years. I ask you to excuse me if you perceive it as stereotype and a bit sexist. I apologize for that. But here's the example that I use, which I think is one that works reasonably well and not so far removed from reality, even though roles are changing. We do have a stay-at-home mum with 3 under 7s, which keeps her very active. We have a male who has started a new job, the partner, the husband, very busy, very bright. He's up for promotion. When he comes home from work, he loves to tell his partner, his wife, about his day. He's very animated because he loves what he does in the workplace. He's up for promotion. But each evening that he comes home, she's exhausted, having just put the last bottle in the sterilizer and 3 youngsters to bed, and he really respects her hard work as a stay-at-home mum. He values her. He loves it though when she would maybe sit around the table with him or be laying on the sofa nearby as he eats his meal and shares something of his day. But so often, unavoidably, she's just slowed down and she falls asleep. Now, he doesn't seemingly mind at that. He absolutely understands. But what he doesn't realize is the extent to which her listening to him actually promotes, tops up a number or one of those top 10 core emotional needs. And over time, months, what he may not realize is that he stopped clocking off from work and leaving at his normal time of 5:30, and instead he's leaving work at closer to 7 o'clock because he gets enjoyment from his work. His core emotional needs are being met, certain of them, of course, not all of them, in the workplace by the work towards promotion that he's doing, the project that he's working on. And so he'll spend more time in the workplace. Do you see where core emotional needs, there's a perception they're not being met in one place? He is moving, taking himself into another place and staying in that other place for longer periods of time. He is flighting. Now, the dilemma here is that so often we can flight into the arms of somebody else because when our core emotional needs are not being met, we are vulnerable. We're vulnerable to affairs. We're vulnerable to adultery. Wow, that's a bit grand, Gary. Yes, we are. We're vulnerable because those core emotional needs are not negotiable. They've got to be met, and we will find different ways to get them met. I'm not being critical of his wife. Now, what I want you to understand in this example I'm giving to you is it just takes a spark to light the fire. So what we're going to do is put in the mix a female in the office, and she says something to him. I can see you're up for promotion. The partners think highly of you. Must be a very interesting project that you're working on. His eyes light up as she makes that statement, and before he knows it, he invites her to lunch so he can tell her about the project. Before he knows it, he's invited her out to lunch. You know where I'm going with this. They go out to lunch, and all she does is listen, nods and smiles. She doesn't necessarily understand too much of what he's saying about the project. But whilst he's animated and telling her, and she's just nodding from time to time, he has attention. He's also getting something of appreciation. Now, individuals with attachment issues, which we will have looked at in the previous session, this is going to feel really good and top up some seriously low core emotional needs for attention and affection and security and being wanted. And something happens in the dynamics of this relationship with the secretary that leads to an affair. And after the sex, he lifts his head up and says, I don't understand why I did this. I know I don't love you. I know I love my wife. What just happened? Why? And what I offer to you is, a lot of the times, it's something to do with the drive to get core emotional needs met. You see, what I've constantly been saying to you is, it's not about the top of the toothpaste, it's not about the toilet seat. There are often some deeper issues in the unconscious that we don't understand.
Single, but want to better understand why? Preparing for marriage and want to give it your best shot. Perhaps you're in a partnership, a couple, and want to address some issues. Maybe it's a marriage, but it just ain't working too well. Are you a couple, but know it could be better? Consider a diagnosis, a form of MOT for the relationship. Want to limit passing on the stuff to the children, because we know that childhood development really does impact the shaping of us and how we go on to do adult life. Want to maximize the quality of your relationship. Perhaps communication just definitely is not working well. Conflict needs managing, needs resolving. Sex, the first casualty when there is conflict, may be something of a sense of a mismatch, but there are definitely some problems in sex. Maybe you're long time married and you've settled, but you know you haven't settled for good enough. Consider the Kairos Center video on demand program. In that program, you'll cover a lot of topics from A to Z, and you can do it in the comfort of your own home at your leisure, and have some periodical homework review sessions with me from time to time at your leisure. Maybe you would prefer secure webcam where one of you or both of you come for maybe weekly sessions. There's something for everyone in the Kairos relationship program. Contact me today. Whether you're in a partnership, a marriage, these things are true. Marriage is not the coming together of two people. It's actually a clash of two cultures, two experiences, two memories, two habits, two morals, two values. And that is a formulation for destruction, says Dr. Miles Monroe. Also, Dr. Creflo Dollar has said, marriage is the place of our healing. Don't leave it too quickly. And if I add a little bit extra to that, you're destined to repeat the problems. So why not work through this partnership in order to address the issues, which is more about me than the other person, and then make an informed decision about what you do for the future of the relationship. Send me a message. It's time to get your quality of life and relationship back on a proper footing.